sent me a text message that was like 3 texts long about all of the stuff that you did.
That was only 3 cases. So yeah, I just got a new job with an emergency practice in the South Bay, and the difference obviously between general practice and emergency practice is that on emergency you get all of the stuff that's urgent. And being an overnight practice, you get everything that, people won't usually show up at your door unless they have tons of money to burn, which is uncommon, or something is really seriously wrong. So last night, what did I have last night?
I don't know, you want me to tell you?
Yes.
We've been watching Stranger Things in other news.
Yeah, great TV show.
It showed up out of nowhere though.
On Netflix?
Yeah, nobody was talking about it, and then suddenly everyone was talking about it.
It's probably the way Netflix likes it.
Is that tree fake?
Yes.
Is that an antenna tree?
Yes.
How did they do that? It's so bad.
Why?
It's just fake looking. It's awful.
Well, except it's the first time I've ever noticed it.
Right, fair.
I've lived here 6 years. 6 years.
You had a cat abscess.
Yeah, pretty typical, but the owners came home from some vacation, and their outdoor cat had a big abscess kind of right in the front of his ear. Turned out to be really caseous. Caseous is your cocktail party word of the week. Means cheese-like.
Oh, that's gross.
Yeah, so real thick.
Oh, it sounds like what it is, though.
Yeah, real thick, disgusting stuff comes out.
I'm kind of regretting starting this conversation.
But he was a really sweet cat. One of those cats where he wasn't all that overweight, and he weighed like 14 pounds. So, real beefy, young, strong, handsome cat that was just purring the whole time.
Tall cat?
Yeah. Neutered, but a boy. Alright, what else did I say?
You also said you had a cat with a blood clot in the anterior chamber of her right eye.
Yes. So, don't see that one very often. So, anterior meaning front chamber of the eye, so right in front of the iris, which is the colored part of the eye, behind the cornea, which is the clear surface of the eye. That whole area is called the anterior chamber, and there should only be fluid in there. Another little piece of tidbit trivia.
You can pop them.
Yes.
Eyeballs, you can pop them. In the mortuary, you have to sometimes in order to get the eye to sit right, because they swell or they distend, and so the best way to do it is you just go in with the scalpel and you just have to break it up.
It's a new one on me.
Yeah.
Wow, baby. Wow.
And so you break all the vitreous humor up out of there, and then what's really interesting is you can find the lens of the eye, and it's like a little hard
Lens?
Yeah.
It literally just looks like a really thick magnifying lens.
Yeah, that's the best way to describe it. And then you have to dry it out with chemicals and rebuild the whole area.
It's interesting. We do put in prosthetics for people who, when they have their dog's eyes removed, dogs mostly, and they don't want to have the visible sort of concavity.
Yep.
We'll literally just put in these prostheses that are just these black rubber balls.
We have 2 kinds. We have one is an eye cap, which is not really a prosthetic, but it looks like a contact lens, and it's got little pokey bits that come up out of it, and it holds the...
But it's on both, the pokey bits are on both sides?
No.
Just on the outside?
Just on the outside, because you want to hold the lid closed, basically.
I just thought it would need to grab onto the globe, too.
No, it just sits really comfortably. And then they do
comfortably.
Well, yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, I guess it's not uncomfortable when you're dead, right? And then they do make eye prosthetics, but nobody ever wants to pay for them. I probably could have used marbles, but I would just always build it.
Huh.
And then put the eye cap over it so you
But
get the shape.
What do you build it with?
Whatever I had.
Well, but like, for instance, you didn't like wad up pieces of paper.
Pretty much. Yeah, but like mortuary paper. Like we have filling, it looks like stuffing. It's like cotton stuffing, and that's what we would use. And so you would just fold it until you got the right shape. And
Like people stuffing?
Yeah, kinda.
Mortuary paper?
It's got a name, but now it's
like
gone.
Build-A-Bear.
I haven't used it. I haven't used the name in a year, and so now I can't.
It's like Build-A-Bear.
It's web roll. That's what it's called. Web roll.
Oh my word. Oh my word.
It comes in big sheets. It's like this thick, or you can have this thick, and it looks like one of them looks like the batting in a quilt, and then one of them is more put together.
So we have stuff like that too. I mean, obviously we have gauze and lap pads and stuff, but then there's also stuff called gel foam that you use, and it induces clotting. So you can stick it on like a weeping bone that you've drilled into or cut, or like oftentimes if you're doing an enucleation, there's a vessel right at the back of the eye that is a really nasty one to try to get suture around.
Yeah, it is.
So sometimes you just have to stuff this stuff in there, keep pressure on it for a little bit, have a conversation for 2-4 minutes, and then check it.
It's the opposite way when you're doing an autopsy case or a posted case. And so they, make the incision from ear to ear, and you pull all that forward, and so that comes down over its own face, basically, or the person's own face. And then you remove the skull cap. And the brain is taken out because they take all the organs out, and they usually put the brain, the coroner, the person who's completing the autopsy, and so they'll put all the organs in the abdomen, and so this is all empty. And when you're...
Is it just because it's such a tight fit? It's kind of like getting a...
It's really a stupid... It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but it goes... All of the organs go into a bag.
Oh, okay.
So, and you treat them with, like, the heaviest chemicals that you have. No, it actually can be really difficult because, I mean, a brain is an 8-pound organ, and so you're trying to shove 8 pounds back into a place where there was never a spot for 8 pounds to be.
Yeah. No, I meant, like, is that why they don't put it back in the skull, because it's such a tight fit?
Oh, no, they don't put it back just because they want to be able to preserve it. Also, a level of laziness. Most autopsies are done in 15 minutes or less. They're really fast.
Human doctors are lazy.
Yes.
Interesting.
They can be. I'm sorry if we just offended any coroners on my list, but...
Yeah. Well, I mean, if that's true, you're lazy.
It's fast.
I guess a lot of it is just sample taking, sample collection.
Pretty much. I mean, you're just kind of ripping and stitching up.
So back to
anyways, I'm sorry.
this kitty.
Damn it, I was trying to finish my story.
Oh, hit it.
So, when you're injecting the fluids, and you're going up the head, that same artery that you are talking about being difficult from this side is difficult from the back side. Because it's been severed when you've taken the brain out. And so you have to do the same thing. You have to do a whole bunch of pinching and holding and keeping it closed.
So you're going from inside the cranial vault.
Right.
It would be super interesting to have like a superimposition of me working on, doing a surgery and enucleating from the front, and then you trying to preserve from the back. Like we're working on the same things, like on two sides of a wall. Like, I'm putting in the outlet, and you're putting in the wiring in the wall.
Or I'm trying to staunch up the ripped out wiring. Anyway, sorry about the cat.
It's okay. So yeah, the cat had this anterior chamber that had a big blood clot in it, and so the blood clot was and I knew it was a clot because if you move the cat's head around, this stuff wouldn't settle it, because otherwise it can look like a snow globe if it's pus or free floating blood or something like that. But this was really well demarcated. It was the whole bottom half of the anterior chamber, and it prevented the iris from opening up fully.
Bottom chamber. Well, anterior.
Anterior's front.
Yeah.
So in my field, it's ventral. In human medicine, it would be inferior.
Yes. Just clarifying.
Yeah. So anyway, top rule outs being really high blood pressure, which it ended up being. This cat had normal blood pressure should be under about 120, and this cat's was 250. And even really, really freaked out cats in the hospital sometimes will get up to 200, which can confound your findings a little bit, but 250 is pretty definitive. So literally the blood vessel just, and it started shooting blood into its eye.
Sounds bad.
So we put him on amlodipine, which is what you're
That's
on.
what I'm on.
Yeah.
Keep my blood pressure low.
Yeah. And anyway, so the iris couldn't open fully, but I mean, the good news is usually the blood vessels that are affected are in the retina, and so a lot of times you detect this, the high blood pressure when a cat goes blind. But this cat had normal pupillary light reflexes, normal palpebral reflexes, pupillary light responses, and as well as reflexes, and then menace responses. So that I could tell, the cat could see.
What the hell is a menace response?
It blinked, so you could see.
Oh, alright.
So, but you got to do it in both visual fields. Yeah, so there's a whole bunch of nerves in the head called the cranial nerves, and they innervate various different structures. So,
for example, when I had jaw surgery and they made the incision up here, they cut a bunch of my cranial nerves, and so I couldn't move his eyebrow.
Interesting.
For like 6 months.
Yeah. When they cut into my jaw for my jaw surgery, the whole mid part of my face was numb for a year.
That's bizarre.
It was weird. It felt
How'd
like
you kiss anybody?
really well. It felt like my nose was like waking up from being asleep for like 6 months.
It's horrible. I'm sorry. That's how my hands feel with the ulnar nerves.
Oh, the pins and needles?
Yeah.
That sucks.
Pretty much all the time.
My previous boss had a neuropathy that he had a pins and needles thing, and literally, like, every time he shakes somebody's hand, it hurts. And he still does surgery and all sorts of stuff, and he just never says anything about it.
Yeah, we're good at that. Animals.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't understand how you can function as painful as you are, and you don't understand how I can function as anxious as I am. We both just say, well, you just go. You just go. You just do it.
You just have to.
Yeah.
You know, it was interesting the other day when I was on Twitter, I was talking about how life is ultimately meaningless except for the meaning that you apply to it. And for me, I was just working things out. You know, I was just talking about things. This wasn't like any darker than I usually am, or any more depressed than I usually am when I'm on a low swing. But there were a lot of people who took it as me talking about being suicidal and not thinking that life was worth living anymore, and that was not what I was talking about at all.
Yeah.
I'm so terrified of dying that I am like the least suicidal person ever.
Well, except you've talked about how there are times when you do have suicidal ideation, right?
Right, but ideation is not the same as what I am, which is terrified of dying.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's why Stranger Things is really freaking me out. Derek and I were watching the show the other day, or today, I guess, and we were talking about tropes in science fiction and how ludicrous they are. Like the fact that everybody's helmet is always lit from the inside, which would make it really difficult for you to see anything, and also it doesn't do anything about the fact that you're lit from the outside and you need to see the outside.
Yep.
What's another good one? Another sci-fi trope.
Are we moving on from the cases? Okay, other
bouncing.
rule-outs, not just the high blood pressure, but also coagulopathy. So rodent, rat bait, keep your pets away from rat bait. Or another...
Rat bait, that's what he said.
Rat bait. The anticoagulant type. They also have a neurologic type. Infection and a few other things. So, tropes that are ridiculous. Well, I mean, I was asking, there's a character in the show that is played by Winona Ryder who just is like 100% of the time constantly on the verge of absolutely breaking down, and so she's like weeping and crying and doing this 24/7.
She's acting the hell out of it.
Well, and so, you know, my question was like, I know part of it is that they're, you know, maybe that's just the conversations that we're catching, and a real person isn't going to be doing that, but she really seems like she's doing that all the time. And so I was asking Heather if that's, you know, something that is legitimate or makes any sense, and she was saying yes, and I was wondering if that was from your own personal experience or from seeing other people doing it.
Oh no, that's definitely personal experience. I mean, also seeing other people, but I mean, I'm biased given that what my job was involved people crying all the time. But yeah, when I'm depressive, especially in the wintertime, yeah, I can be like that for sure.
Well, I can imagine, like, if you're in a mania, that you are on edge a lot of times for like a consistent period of time.
Yeah, that's true. I will say that the mania does not usually do that unless I am also having a panic attack,
that tremulous.
Right. But no, I would say not last year, but the year before that, I was pretty much Winona Ryder in the wintertime.
It sucks.
The whole winter, it sucked. This year I'm asking for a light.
Light?
Yeah, I want my insurance to cover a light, the sunlight.
Yeah, you can just get the full spectrum bulbs cheap.
Really?
Yeah.
Do they do the same thing?
Yep. We can swap them out. I did it when I lived in upstate New York.
It's a really good idea.
Sometimes they cast off. When I was using them, they casted off more of a like an LED artificial glow.
Right, but are they the same as like the seasonal affective disorder lights, where you sit in front of them and you get vitamin D from them, and you're supposed to sit in front of them for like a period of time every day?
Well, I mean, that's the idea, that they're full spectrum.
We are going to San Francisco by way of San Francisco today, by the way. You guys got that joke this time. Maybe.
So what are we doing in San Francisco, sweetheart? Sweetheart?
Today, we are meeting up and we're having dinner with 2 Twitter friends and a third person who... Third? I like what my fingers do when I do that. Third person.
By the way, we should probably cut this off in a few minutes because my phone is running out of memory.
We can do that. We are meeting up for dinner with Matt, who is at Another Shoe, and with Effie, who is at Effie's, and then with another friend, Anastasia, and I don't know what her Twitter handle is. But we try to meet up once every month or so. It's started to be a new thing.
It's really fun, especially when you bring back all the cookies.
Yes. Well, I'm at the dinner. Now that we've had 2 dinners, I think that it's like officially turning into a tradition.
A thing.
A thing. We're having a thing.
Did you want to cover your hair real quick?
Oh yeah, I have no hair. I mean, I do have hair, obviously. This is a wig, though. I think it's a pretty good wig.
Solid.
It's not bad. I do feel like I'm playing dress up.
It's fun.
I did go to Target yesterday and nobody accused me of being a charlatan with fake hair on, so I felt like I really got away with something.
No, but I bet you anything that more than 2 people walked by you and were like, is she?
Oh, she looks so familiar.
Is she wearing a wig?
You know, when I walked into therapy today, my therapist was like, oh, hello, I didn't recognize you. I was
That's
like,
funny.
yeah, I know. It's a wig. I got a really bad haircut the other day. Like, extraordinarily bad. I'm not sure that we were looking at the same reference photos when we were having the conversation about the haircut. In fact, I'm almost positive that we weren't. And so I came home and I was really frustrated about it, and it made me cry. I don't think I've ever had a haircut that made me cry before. And so then I shaved my head. So I have no hair. And so I'm experimenting between no hair and wearing wigs.
It's really cool. The bay right now, I can't show you, but the bay has like literally a distinct wall of fog that's moving north.
It's very beautiful.
Yeah. Sorry.
No.
Distracted by the fog.
Don't be. You should be. Because it's so sunny and beautiful everywhere else. It's kind of crazy.
Lastly, I had a dog come in who had swallowed an entire sponge, and it was his 4th time having the doctor have to induce emesis, and he puked it all up along with 3 raw chicken breasts, which apparently is his diet. I mean, didn't seem all that balanced and complete to me, but I did encourage them to chat with their veterinarian about...
Where are the vegetables and the grains?
Yeah.
Sponges are not grains or vegetables.
More on veterinary diets later. Anyway, thank you everybody. It's nice to chat with you.
Bye. See you next time.